Hello and welcome once again to another tale from the heart of the Jakuls. As always, I'll be your host Lothran, and there's so very much work to be done. So let's just get into this one. So grab a quick snack, settle into your favorite spot, and get nice and comfy. Listen close and carefully to Resolve. Parthen bolted straight up, his entire body screaming against the torment coursing over and through it. He took a panic-filled gasp as he felt his eyes reform within his skull, massive, crisping burns flaking from his freshly nude form as he shakily staggered to his feet. I was the best body they could find. He slowly took in the rest of the battalion. Burnt, ripped apart corpses. The ambush had done its job. Pieces of bodies and crushed limbs, heads and torsos littered the forest path. I may have been. They clearly knew we had the resolve, but at least they didn't know what it looked like. There's definitely a source in our headquarters. He watched his fingers regrow from the charred stubs they had been only moments before. He heard about this process. Parthen was from military intelligence, secrets branch. There weren't any weapons of war spoken in more hushed, unknowing ways than the final soldier's resolve. It had been discovered and brought back from his travels by Mujin himself. It had the power to revive anyone, but that power was limited. Most didn't survive the process. Some did as he had, but all were changed. Parthen scavenged the slaughter as his memories trickled back to him. What little was left of his mind. It was said every now and again a rare being would survive after the power of the resolve had faded out. He wondered if he would be one, as he pulled on a pair of pants and tied a sword belt to his hips. He heard noises, mostly carrion creatures come for the feast, flapping wings, quick, hasty paws. He'd have to move, no telling if enemies were still in the area, and the stray predators would get more territorial as the day lengthened. He found a shirt not completely drenched in blood, and a decent shield before striding off the main path into the woods. Walking slowly and keeping his wits about him, he adjusted the shirt around the spine of resolve sticking out of his heart. He probably only had a few days max, given how horrible his death had been. There was a bit of variance to it, but it always ended at some point. After a while he began to jog, making a good pace through the sparse woods of the Barrow Fog Lands. Eerie sounds greeted his ears. Calls from massive creatures rang out from many directions. Haunting images from his past drifted all about everywhere he glanced. His parents, dead by the ravages of time, his mother cooking at the stove, his father working at sharpening his tools. Parthen tried to push them away, but they kept coming back. The resolve was having an effect on him. Then he heard it. An electric, scraping, metallic, blood-curdling roar. A true-form viper. Here, catching the scent of a foe. Him? Maybe. Parthen shut his eyes, gulping as he halted. The sound erupted again. Closer. Not much, but slightly. He had no choice now. He ran. He ran like he was a part of the wind, like he was the part of the wind that drove it forward and onward over the landscape, aiming as straight and true as he could, winding around jutting, jagged boulders, bouncing off of any trees he impacted against, never stopping, never thinking, running for what little of his second life remained to him. It burst through the tree line as he neared a grand meadow, barreling right towards him, on its two long legs trailing its far too long arms tipped in massive talons, with a head practically only a gaping mouth and a row upon row of venom-brimming foot-long fangs, all curling in his direction. The fear drove him faster and harder. Parthen kept running for cover, moving for the next stolen moment of desperate prayer, seeking nothing but to continue to breathe even as his lungs burned from the exhaustion and the true form menacingly outpaced each of his small strides. There! 100 meters away, Parthen spotted a ridge of stone with an empty skyline behind it. He might be able to protect himself there. He ran even faster, feeling the resolve begin to sear his flesh on the tips of his feet. So much exertion was halting the healing properties of the device. He ignored the tremendous pain in his extremities. He had to live to worry about pain when he could afford it. Parthen leapt through the air, feeling the viper's mighty talons scrape across his back. Huffing and heaving, Parthen rolled to his feet, upset that he hadn't thought to sling the shield upon his back, as he felt a trickle of blood seep from 6 fresh wounds. It gave him no quarter as his muscles churned with the acid downpour upon them from such heated marathon to this spot. Parthen parried another swipe, then blocked a snapping lunge of the monster's face, feeling its hot, wet blood and rotten meat-drenched breath. He managed to push the beast back temporarily as it shifted, walking back and forth, examining its prey with an oddly tilting head that had no eyes. Parthen focused only on catching his furiously out-of-control breaths, breathing deeply through his nose and exhaling very abruptly from his mouth, only to breathe deeply once more. He must become calm. He must have the ability to think. It was his only advantage over this beast, this monster, this hateful thing squaring off with him. The viper struck, nearly catching him off guard in a haze of dizzy thoughts and images. It had noticed how little focus Parthen had paid to it for just a fraction of a moment, and it wasted not a single millisecond to take advantage where it might find it. He held his own, standing slightly above the beast as far back as he dared, but it was too fast, too energetic, too fresh from having fed, too cunning for him to last forever. Parthen cut at one arm, nearly slicing the limb in half, but even as the true form shrieked in fright and terror, the beast bit off almost half of its own limb, cutting its cries in twain along with its own arm. And then the hand began to grow back slowly, inexorably, and the beast was slowed not an iota. Parthen barely kept himself from tripping backward off the edge of the cliff, but just so. He had no idea how long he'd be able to keep up this charade, but he had to keep trying. He had to finish his mission, only he... What was that? Parthen gazed down in shock at the gaping hole in his stomach his bowels were spilling out of. He glanced at the beast, the true form viper, licking the blood from its talons and smiling his way, or at least seeming to. Parthen stumbled backward, letting the sword and shield fall from his grasp, plummeting to his second death on the same day. I failed, he said, as he hurtled towards the earth, moments before impact. His corpse shattered upon impact, beyond even the abilities of a fresh final soldier's resolve. His mission not exactly lost, though. A blunt-tailed, squat little beast tore its way out of the prison of Parthen's flesh, smiling in a simple, childlike way, and laughing in a near giggle. It wobbled on tiny legs, and then raced with its large arms across the forest floor, off to complete the purpose of the resolve. And so it is once more. We have come to the end of our tale and our time together. It gets a little better each and every time I tell a tale. This has been another story from the heart of the Jackal, this one called merely Resolve. Here it is, that moment all of you've been patiently awaiting. I know I have. Brumble, take us out.
Hello and good night, everyone. It would greatly help to leave any comments you have down below. Like and share to help us grow and feed a hungry Brumble. That's me. And don't forget We encourage and implore each and every one of you to stay safe out there. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.